Come for our miles of pristine beaches and vibrant art scenes. Stay for our diverse cultural experiences. Plan your trip now, Miami and MiamiBeach.com. On this season of the Leading with Audacious Confidence podcast, we share stories from corporate executives and tips from those who coach them to high performance on what it really takes to build and keep your confidence in this fast-paced, ever-changing world of business, and how they inspire others to lead with confidence. Be ready to take lots of notes because there's always some juicy nuggets coming your way. Welcome to this episode of Leading with Audacious Confidence. I'm your host, Alicia Curry, and with me today is David Whitaker. And for more than 3 decades, David has distinguished himself as a respected industry leader, both in the communities he's served and on the global travel, tourism, and convention industry stage. Named President and CEO of the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau in 2021, the appointment was a homecoming for Whitaker, who previously held GMCVB leadership positions from 1990 to 2007. Recently, Miami was named a host city for the 2026 World Cup. Woohoo! And the destination was featured in Florida's 2022 Michelin Guide, underscoring his commitment to the GMCVB's role in positioning Miami-Dade County as a true live, work, and play destination for visitors and residents alike. Upon his return, the GMCVB has also taken on significantly increased responsibility to successful markets and book future conventions and events at the newly imagined and expanded Miami Beach Convention Center. So welcome to the podcast, David. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you. I'm a big fan. You've done a great job of storytelling, and we're delighted to have a chance to share this time with you and the viewers today.
Excellent. So I want to go back in the history books and ask you, as a young man growing up in the South, because you grew up in the South, right? What does Black history mean to you?
Well, I think specifically, I grew up in a very small town in Georgia, a town that had 300 people, if you counted everybody close. And just so obviously a very small community. And there's some advantages and disadvantages. We'll talk about that later. But really, and at my age, my first 10 years of my life were the 60s. And so much, unfortunately and fortunately, was happening in the 60s. So, and in the South, right? And in Georgia. And so I really got to live it almost on a daily basis and see the world, brand new eyes as a young boy, seeing the world, days that were to be uplifting, and days to be very afraid for our country, for our neighbors, for what was going on in this country, And so it was really a moving time to see all that happened. They talk about like the year 1968. It's remembered for so many things, unfortunately and fortunately. But I lived that as a young, influential boy. This was all, I was absorbing all of it, trying to find my place in the world. And so those days, I think, and years really shaped me, because you can't walk that path of the history of the South, of Georgia, of my little town. And Black history was just called history. Right?
It was just, right, exactly. But yeah, it's a really profound time. And having grown up in it as a kid, being able to witness some of these things, how did that shape your view of the experience? Because I can imagine it did have an impact on you.
Yeah, I think there was the internal experience, which I've kind of touched on. The external experience was just a drive, and not so much because of necessarily Black history, but my neighbors and my fellow Black neighbors. It was really a drive to, we got to try to get out. I hate to say it, but we got to get out of this place. We got to somehow we got to escape the past. We got to escape the confines of where we live. And even though we loved it and it was love and nurture, there was just basically no opportunities there. And so all the kids in my school and all my neighbors and older kids, and we were all trying to figure out how we're going to get out of here, how we're going to make it, right?
That kind of sounds like me. So, what were your greatest influences then back as a child?
I was for a variety of reasons, I was totally into sports, and again, in a small town, it's all hands on deck, right? You don't try out for the basketball team; you are the back. There's only five of us, right? Six of us, and so,
You just have to figure out what your position is.
exactly. So, to that extent, the coaches that I had, and again, I went to my school as a young athlete, seventh grade. It was literally the first integrated team. And that's real, right? Chance to join a team and learn to play with others, teamwork, camaraderie. And these kids were kind of forced together for the first time in the seventh grade, sadly, because again, that was that generation, that was that time where schools were being integrated for the first time.
Yeah.
But on the sports field, on the playing field, we were all one.
You were right. It was all one team. Mm-hmm.
And if you were good, you could be green. But if you were good, you were my guy.
We're taking you. We're picking you for the team. If you weren't, sit on the bench. It's like, I don't care.
I like to joke around, but I will tell you that after that seventh grade combination, our teams got a lot better.
Nice.
I love some of my new teammates.
Yep. They could play. They could play. Yay. And so when you look back at that journey, was there a moment that we have these defining moments in life. Was there a moment that you can pinpoint to say, doing this propelled me into kind of this leadership role that I'm in now?
It probably happened later in my life, not necessarily because again, growing up in this tiny little town, trying to find a pathway out. Of course, getting to college was a big part of that and a blessing. But really,
where did you go to college?
I proudly went to the University of South Florida, which is not known for a lot of, football success or basketball success or sports success. So I went to a historically bad football school, okay? HBB, historically black, historically bad. But so to me, and knowing this question, because we talked earlier, it was that moment of graduation from college, because, you go to college, and for all of those on this call and viewers who did have that blessing, they teach you in college to be a success. You graduate prepared to be the vice president of marketing for your first job, right? Mm-hmm. And then you graduate and nobody's hiring a brand new person out of school as vice president of marketing, right? And so you're almost trained and prepared for this a reality that doesn't exist as a brand new in the workforce trying to now get employment. And so that was a real shocking moment for me where I wasn't landing that, high profile, super job, title job. In fact, I struggled for several months and weeks to find a job. And my first job, literally by desperation, because I needed to pay the rent, I got a job at Xerox selling copiers door to door because I had to get a job.
And it's so, I never thought of it that way. It's so true. You leave college thinking you're ready to take on the world because all this stuff, and then nobody's hiring someone green out of college. It's like, what do I do?
So that was a real meaningful time for me.
Yeah.
Again, commission sales, knocking on doors. So I had to build a lot of confidence in a very compact time and a lot of stress. I had to learn how to deal with stress. But, obviously Xerox provided great training. And it wasn't too long after that where my marketing degree, because I didn't want to pursue a career. And I got my first job in marketing was a nonprofit organization that's highly respected, the United Way. In fact, that's what got me to move to Miami, where I took a job locally with the United Way, a nonprofit, organization. So the Convention and Visitor Bureau is a nonprofit organization, board of directors, the governance, the community-facing aspects of a nonprofit organization. So that was really kind of my big break, but it was stimulated from that shocking realization that at 21 years old, you're nobody.
Right. Unless you have
to be somebody.
Unless you get a contract with a sports team, you are nobody. You are nobody. Wow. So that led you clearly down to beautiful Miami and the Miami Beach area. What was that like? Like coming, I know it was a transition. You went to college in Florida, but coming to Miami, I could just imagine from a small town, it was a little bit of a culture shock.
Yeah, I mean, first when I went to Tampa, I thought Tampa was, as big as New York. I really was, I was starstruck. They had
Hmm.
relatively tall buildings. They had a professional football team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
I thought I had hit it big. I'm in Tampa. Of course, you come to Miami, and no disrespect to Tampa, because Tampa is now one of the
Tampa's
biggest,
beautiful city. Yeah.
and it's really blown up. I mean, it's grown so dramatically. But back then, Tampa was a pretty sleepy town compared to Miami. And so that was quite a shock. The diversity of Miami, you can't get away from it. In fact, we've learned now it's one of our greatest marketing assets
Yeah,
to promote,
absolutely.
to promote diversity of our people and of our heritages and of our cultures. But that in itself, as a again rather insulated little farm boy, where most of the kids were all the same,
Hmm.
same class system, same income status, to come to a city that had everything in opulence and sophistication, good and bad.
Hmm.
It was also a very interesting time in Miami's evolution, the late 80s, early 90s. There was a
Hmm.
lot going on here, whether it was the Mariel boat lift, the Haitian refugee crisis is the first of those waves back then. Uh, Assimilating cultures in a city that had been a historically southern city and
Hmm.
now has got half of its population not necessarily from the South. That
Right.
was a lot going on back then. That was a lot going on back then.
Yeah. And the city of Miami has transformed too. I lived downtown Miami in the early 90s and it's completely different now. It's not the same place.
Well, you fit right in because only beautiful people get to live downtown on
Yes.
Brooklyn.
That's true.
But you have to put your dog, your puppy, in a baby carriage. You got to have a
I
baby
gotta have
carriage.
a puppy and a baby carrot. See, see,
Well,
that
it's like
whole waterfront wasn't built up when I was there. It was still
my,
like, yeah.
and Miami is just continues to evolve, right? And that's what's so exciting
Hmm.
because, I don't want this to sound like a cliche, but we kind of like to think that we're making history here every day as we continue to grow and evolve. And so the course, of course, is do we do the right things for history's sake? How are we
Hmm.
going to be judged? And how are we going to make a difference moving forward?
Absolutely. I I I do love Miami as a community. How does the work that you're doing with the Convention and Visitors Bureau really highlighting, aside from the strengths of the diversity, all the wonderful communities? You know, we have like Wynwood and we have Brickell and like we have all these little amazing communities. What is some of the things that you as a leader there are doing to highlight these communities?
Well, I'm really, really very proud of our team. I've been here only a year, and so I'd love to take credit for a lot of the great things that are happening here. I'll take credit that I recognize them. I continue to position and put the right people in the right place. We've got some real superstars on our team, and in the
Listen,
space.
don't gloss over that. That is a huge strength of a leader to be able to recognize talent and put them in the right place. That is huge. So
And,
kudos to you.
and everyone, hopefully, on your network and circle know of the work Connie Kennard is doing. She is our senior vice president of multicultural tourism and development. And it's exactly that. It's promoting the tourism aspects of our destination and the multicultural and diversity that you mentioned, whether it's Little Havana, Little Haiti, Wynwood, the arts districts. And what we also know is that tourists love to go to that off the beaten path, right?
Mhm.
Destinations all over the country are taking advantage of those new discoveries, that hippest, newest neighborhood. I remember when South Beach was a new hip neighborhood, and then it was Wynwood, and now other neighborhoods are starting to, and that's what the visitor experience is all about. And the
Mhm.
diversity of the experience helps you then attract the diversity of visitors that you want, right? Because we need to have more than just one kind of visitor. We have to have different age groups, different generations, different tastes and desires. And so the more diverse we are, it gives us the more diverse palette of offerings to extend to our visitors.
The thing with Miami too, Miami, you can't come to Miami just for a quick visit. It just not, it doesn't, we have so much, we have sports, we have art, we have music, we have food. I mean, the food in Miami is crazy because of all the diversity that we have. We have cultures. Like I'm trying a new restaurant. I know when this airs, I would have already tried it, but trying a new restaurant, Dominican restaurant, you can get Cuban food, Dominican food, Haitian food, Trinidad food, Jamaican food. They're all Caribbean, but they're all different, And then there's so we have all that the Latin influences, we have the Caribbean influences, we have the European influences, we have the American influence. We have it's all here. Even Native American influences here it's everything. So I love it. Everybody asks me, why don't I live somewhere else? I'm like, you just don't understand Miami.
Okay, I'm just going to stop talking. You just keep going. You're our best salesperson.
I'm telling you, you got to come. You have to come for at least 2 weeks so you can enjoy the food, the culture, the museums, the art, the history, the everything that we have going on down here. So just to get back to you as a community leader and an influencer, what is your highest priority for the city?
So again, success has a lot of different forms. We're a numeric, number-driven organization, tourism and convention sales, and you never can get too far away from the numbers, just like a basketball coach can never get too far away from the one-loss record, right? You want to be successful. And so we've been setting records the last several years, which has been really exciting. One of the top three, based on the hotel numbers, one of the top three destinations in the country last year in terms of growth year over year, the average daily rate, because you want to be able to maximize that revenue and attract visitors. You could fill up every hotel room if you sold them for $50 a night, but we're looking to sell those hotel rooms for much, much more than the benefit of that. And then those visitors, those sophisticated visitors that you talked about that love to go get a great meal, love to catch a great performance, are interested in the diverse offerings of the community. That's the perfect combination that makes the cash register ring, keeps employment high, gives business opportunities for entrepreneurs, helps us become a thriving place, and then success breeds success. So that's all in the blender, in the formula. And so as a CEO of a tourism promotion organization, we just want to do all that we can that is resulting in people converting to be here, choosing, hey, I've heard about Miami, I want to go there. I've read about Miami and Miami Beach, I want to go there. That they had a successful convention there. I want to take my convention there. I want to play here because I've heard it's a great playground for what I'm into. You also, quite frankly, want a destination that's welcoming. And unfortunately, that perhaps is more important now with all that's going on in the world. You need to make sure that you're a welcoming, inclusive destination. That again gives you so many different opportunities as opposed to being one-dimensional. And so that platform has unlimited potential. Again, my job is to make sure that we're plugging in and pushing all the right buttons and providing the resources to amplify and tell our story, tell a diverse story to a diverse audience. And then at the end of the day, people who come here, you can't mislead what they're going to experience here. You have to make sure you deliver on the value proposition. And that's incumbent on all of us in the industry to make sure that we're at the highest levels of customer service. But quite frankly, the experience can sell itself when you're talking about that great meal or that amazing sound that you're hearing. And again, it's that diversity that makes us a little different than a lot of other places in the United States.
Absolutely.
We're not just known for one thing, thankfully. But it's a melting pot of just a lot of stuff going on, right? And
and no, I was just going to say the only thing we can't control is the weather, which is typically always good, but we have those in the wintertime. Every now and then we'll have a cold front come in and
it was 58. It was 58 last night, and everybody here's complaining.
I know.
I said, in 58 in Toronto was called summer.
I know. But that's the only thing we cannot control with the user experience is sometimes we might have a little bit of rain or a little bit of, but for the majority of the time, we're beach weather. Okay. So you can come to Miami and experience that. But um, I really want to ask how difficult, I know you came in 2021. We were just kind of getting over the pandemic. Things were starting to get back, businesses were starting to kind of get their legs again. How has the recovery from that been for the city with tourism and conventions?
A challenge that can be an opportunity. A challenge has been getting our workforce fully staffed again, right? So many people were either laid off or left for lack of business, and went other places or just left the industry. They talked about the great resignation that happened in this country. Mm-hmm. And so we are having to take a real hard look at ourselves because, of course, as we're succeeding and thriving, we've got to make sure that we are providing great job opportunities for the workforce, especially the supportive workforce, the men and women who are serving the meals, tending the bar, cleaning our rooms, carrying the luggage. That workforce has to be in place so that visitors have a good experience. Mm-hmm. And it's been challenging. We have one of the lowest. I guess it's good news, bad news. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country, but we just need to get more bodies here working because we're growing so fast. We just opened 6 new hotels this last year, and a lot of new restaurants are opening because this is really one of the most. This destination is totally on fire right now, and it's exciting. Restaurateurs are moving here from New York. Investors are moving here with their businesses. Miami's a real current success story, but we've got to have the backbone, the men and women who are working in our industry. That's one of the initiatives that we have a lot of focus on because it gives us an opportunity to maybe expose careers to a workforce, whether it's a new college graduate. I was talking about my experience. If you get in the visitor industry, you can have an amazing, successful career. And it's not just being at the front desk. That's where everybody starts, it seems, but you can be in management, finance, marketing, sales, and everybody's looking for these dynamic people. And you can get that experience and that exposure here in Miami.
Yeah. So Miami is open. Come on down. If you're looking for a great place to live or work, come on to Miami. I'm turning into a commercial, right? But I really do. I set my sights on Miami back in the 80s, Miami Vice and all of that. I was like, I got to go live in Miami. I love it. And so I set my sights on moving, and I've never wanted to move anywhere else ever. There are so many exciting cities in the United States, but I've always just wanted to live in Miami. So this is where I am.
And again, I can't speak for other cities that I haven't as intimately experienced, but clearly Miami is constantly reinventing itself now, right? And part of that is by necessity, and part of that is by just the tremendous opportunity that reinvention brings, right? And so it's just such an exciting time. And what we kind of like to joke about here is whatever you're into, you can get into it in Miami, but it's just a constant evolution. And again, kind of back to the theme, it has to be an evolution where everybody's at the table. Mm-hmm. Everybody has an opportunity. We need everybody. We want everybody. And so it's really not only a corporate and cultural commitment, but it's just smart business.
Yeah.
And I think that some of the things we're doing here is fueling that success. And I'm incredibly proud of our team and our destination.
Absolutely. And you mentioned earlier with, being in the tourism industry is a really great place to have a career. And tell me, is there something around, I know you don't set policy, you don't do any of those things, but is there something around how the wages are and what's happening in that area of employment?
I think, again, there is a stigma that some of the entry-level jobs in hospitality, dishwasher, server, that they unfortunately have historically been relatively low paying. And there's the whole issue of tips. Mm-hmm. Because tips can help supplement, but that's been used in many times unfairly against workers. There's some laws that have been put in place that have changed that. But I think more importantly than legislated change which unfortunately in this country, we always seek legislative change. This is a smart business decision.
Mm-hmm.
Hire and retain talent. And so I think what I'm most excited about is as we watch the hotels, when the biggest hotel increases the hourly wage, all the other hotels have to keep suit or
Mm-hmm.
they'll fall out of competition, right? And so it's the industry fueling smart competition to invest in your people. And if there's one thing I learned from COVID, it's you've got to, because the same people that got us through and out of COVID
Mm-hmm.
are the same people that are going to ride us over the sunset to the next victory, right? And
Yeah.
you've got to invest in your people. And we've learned that now more than ever because people can go with technology. You can go live and work anywhere or
Yeah.
live and work anywhere.
Yeah.
And so we need to make sure people want to come to work every day, are excited, are respected, are given opportunities for growth and ability to use their skills in a very, very exciting career like tourism, hospitality, marketing, and promotion.
Awesome. You're speaking my language. Yes, people development is important. You can't just, people aren't to be herded in and herded out. You have to be able to invest in them now. I think that's one of the biggest lessons from COVID is really people are realizing they have a choice and they are making that choice by walking out and finding other opportunities. So investment is key to retaining your talent. So, just finally, really, I wanted to understand as we're talking about communities and it's Black History Month, I wanted to know from the GMCVB point of view, what are some of the things that they're doing to elevate these communities that we were talking about earlier, the Black communities, and are there plans to continue that work?
Yeah, so there's a lot, and shameless plug on our website, right, miamibeach.com. But we have a whole section on Black History Month and a whole section and a portal into all the things that we're proud of every day of the year, right? Because it's not just the month of February that we're focusing on.
Correct. Yes.
The month of February to amplify and draw attention. But one of my favorite examples is we're a major arts and cultural community. Again, as you mentioned earlier, that art is reflected in our cuisine, that diversity is in our music and our food, in our people, and our heritage, our neighborhoods, our traditions. And so all that rich kind of thick melting pot is also kind of encompassed in arts and culture, the festivals, the community festivals, the neighborhood festivals, the different ethnic festivals, the country festivals of the different diverse people who've called Miami home from South America, from Europe, from all over the country, right?
Yeah.
And so we're using that art canvas, if you will, no pun intended. And we've got a great program. It's award-winning called The Art of Black Miami. Mm-hmm. And it's using art in its broadest sense because it's just fine art or painting art or sculpture. It's art in its broadest context. And the Art of Black Miami is using Black artisans, and not just Black, by the way, all the Latin cultures, Afro-Latin, Afro-Caribbean, you name it, right? It's all this melting pot of using art as a platform to expose the diversity of our artisans, the diversity of our history, the diversity of our offerings. And I'm just really proud of the Art of Black Miami because it gives us a real solid foundation. And it's not a gimmick, quite frankly. It's real, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of the most successful things we're doing.
I love that. And we have Jazz in the Gardens coming up too.
All your viewers should plan to be here too.
They should plan to be here. Yes. Whether you can make it this year or not. It's every year in the month of March here, down in Miami. And we have Art Basel and Art of Black coming down to the end of the year. So make plans to come down for sure and enjoy it. I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to do a little fun rapid fire with you, if you don't mind.
Rapid fire. Okay. Well, hopefully
rapid
this will
fire. Yes.
Hopefully it's fun for me too.
I'm sure it will be. So I'm always curious when I speak to other leaders. It's like, what is the biggest leadership mistake that you ever made that kind of rocked your confidence a little bit, or that you were a victim of?
So in a rapid answer, I think, and half kidding, I love to joke around. I think the biggest mistake is I didn't notice that I was making a mistake, right? So, you know, I think so. Quite frank and quite seriously, I think leaders realize you have to realize that you are capable of making a mistake. You know,
Mm,
you can't let your ego get out there where you think you're impervious to failure or to making a mistake.
yeah.
And I probably have been guilty of that, especially at a younger age. You know, probably as I'm searching for a rapid answer, because people matter so much, and as leaders, we recruit people. I think my handful of biggest mistakes was possibly inviting the wrong person to join our organization because the intimacy of our workspace is never going to change, right? And
Hmm.
you got to have people that are collaborating, getting
Yeah.
along,
Yeah.
and so I probably made a. I won't name
No need to
the
name names. No.
name the names, but you know, I might have had my hand in a couple of bad choices.
Mm,
Really, and then you talk about the consequences and the pressure, because you know you have a responsibility, everyone, to bring in talent and bring in people that can work well together and stimulate one another. And so, you know, when you do come up short, it's really discouraging because
yeah.
you care so much about recruiting the right people to get along with everybody else that's in the organization for that same reason.
That's why I got a job because that's what I do. Help make make sure the right people in the right teams.
Yeah, no,
That
what is
help
that?
it's very important. It's very, very important. So I'm glad that you said that. What is the best leadership advice that you've ever gotten that you still implement today?
You know, I think you can, and I have to remind myself this every morning. I do my little meditation, and I have to be a good listener today. You know, I have
Mm,
to take the time in the rush and the hecticness and the high volume. It's like a roller coaster, right? You get up, you have that cup of coffee, you're off to work, you get on the roller coaster for 8 or 9 hours, and then you're off the roller coaster. During that chaos, you got to find time to listen.
mm,
You got to hear what's happening. You got to hear what people are telling you or asking of you,
yeah.
and you got to listen. And again, when you're so busy leading, if you're not listening, you're not taking advantage of a big tool in the toolbox, right?
Yeah. Active listening skills.
There
Yes.
you go.
Very important. Very important to have. All right. So, have you ever seen the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks?
Yes.
All right. So, if you were a castaway on a deserted island, what are three things that you wish washed ashore or was airdropped to you? And one cannot be a cell phone.
Well, what I would hope for initially is an unlimited supply of wine. I mean, you just have to get through the day, right? You're on a deserted island for God's sakes, right? And so, I mean, I'd rather have wine with special friends. But if not, you know, if it's just me talking to a soccer ball, I need some wine.
You need
So
some wine to talk.
unlimited, unlimited supply of wine is highly sought after, right?
All right. You got that. You either had a buried treasure of wine that was there or it washed up from a cargo ship, like cases and cases of it. So you're good.
Now, I acknowledge the cell phone piece. So I'm trying to think of an instrument back in the day. It was easy that could listen to music, right? So let's just
Mm.
say we could get an old cassette tape deck or,
A
you know,
transistor radio.
radio or whatever the, you know, so again, give me the iPhone. I promise I won't use it as a phone, but let me listen to my iTunes playlist, please. Let me have
Okay,
my
yeah,
play.
because you don't have a signal anyway. But
Yeah,
then we'd have to figure out batteries and a
I know.
plug to so it has to be something that can charge in the sun. It can be recharged.
Solar
So you can
playlist.
just listen to the playlist. What is the third thing?
Um, you know, I'm gonna, can I reserve this is very strategic, by the way. This is what CEOs do. I'm gonna reserve the right to choose the third thing until I experience a little bit more because I don't want to assume how good or bad it's going to be. And I want to have my options down the road.
All right. So you're like like a genie grant you three wishes. You'll use up two and save the third.
Let's see how things work out with the first two.
Let's see how things work out. Okay. Absolutely.
With the unlimited wine and my playlist, I might be pretty content. I might be pretty content.
There you go. Maybe some sunscreen. You might need some sunscreen. All right. That's a good one. All right. Since you mentioned playlist, if you were a song or a song title, what would that be and why?
Um, it would be my favorite song. It would be one of my first favorite songs. a song that's as popular today as it was then. And that's Stevie Wonder's Signed, Sealed, Delivered, I'm Yours.
Oh, that's a
So,
great song.
listen to the words. It's as real today in my life
Hmm.
and as important today as it was when I was 10 years old listening to it for the first time.
I love it. Love Stevie Wonder. All right. The last question I got for you today is, what are your top three favorite books? Or you can tell me what you're reading right now.
So, unfortunately, I'm not a huge reader.
Hmm.
And, like, and by the way, I almost don't want to say this because it would sound contrived, but the Bible has got to be, at least in my world,
Yeah.
I respect others that don't feel that way, but, that's got to be your top favorite
Oh, this
book,
is
right?
yours. Yeah,
Yeah.
your top.
Top
Yeah.
favorite book. And then beyond that, does Sports Illustrated magazine count?
Yes.
Because I'm just a
Some great
sports,
articles in there.
yeah, I'm just a sports junkie, man. I'm just a
Sports.
sports.
Yeah. You're like a Indiana, they say in
Yeah,
Indiana there's nothing else to do but basketball. you,
exactly.
you
Well, that's
grow
the
up.
way it was. And then the third thing, believe it or not, is I love to cook, and I'm really proud of my abilities that I've honed and developed over the years. I'm really overly confident. Not maybe proud's not the right word. I don't want to be cocky, but I
Mhm.
love to cook. I love cooking for others. I love it when people come and eat my food and have a great reaction. And so cookbooks are a tremendous interest to me because I'm always learning different
Nice.
recipes, different combinations, and so for me, going to the grocery store is like going to the library, right? And you're
Wow.
constantly thinking, what I'm going to create. And I love to just try things new. I love going to a restaurant, eating a meal, and then going home and trying to
Mm,
replicate that with the recipe, with the
yeah.
ingredients that we're in, and experiment. So cookbooks are, that's a book and really
It's a
been
book.
a big,
It's a cookbook.
big part of my life when I'm not working.
What is your favorite thing to cook? Like, what is the favorite meal that you
You know,
love?
and I think it's probably from growing up where I grew up in A in the South and B, we had a river on one side of our house and farm and a lake on the other. And so fish was a staple. In fact, my first real job was I was the youngest of seven children. And while the bigger kids after school went and worked on the farm, when I was a scrawny little thing, my job was to go fish for dinner. And I'd go down and talk about sales pressure. You talk about Xerox training. You're down there trying to catch 6 fish, and you've only caught 4, and it's getting dark. That's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. Like, who ain't
You
eating
can hear,
tonight? The
you can
youngest.
hear your mom up in the hill whistling, and you're like, "Gosh, I've only got 4. I need 7." So, so I love fish, uh, freshwater fish. Of course, being in Miami, seafood. Uh,
Hmm.
just love fish, and there's so many things you can do. A fish is like a canvas, right?
Hmm.
Uh, Poach it, you can broil it, you can bake it. It's a sponge that takes all the ingredients, all the flavors, all the spices. You can just have so much fun. Making a steak is like making a steak,
Right. The fish.
but you can have so much creativity.
And you can
Uh,
go wrong with fish if you don't know what you're doing.
that's true
You
too.
can go very, very wrong. Well, I thank you so much. I enjoy cooking too. I do love cooking, and it's one of the things that I do very well and enjoy eating. So
Well,
that's
here's
why.
what you got to do. You got to have a podcast one day where we get in the kitchen and you have your guests and you make a meal.
And cook. I need to do that because I do love cooking and watching. I love to watch Food Network give me ideas, and I take something from this person and take something from that and put it together and make something different. So that's that's how I am creative in
By
the
the way, I
kitchen.
guess if I'm on that island, I guess a fishing pole would be helpful, right? So
Or
maybe that's
spear. Yeah,
that's
go spear fishing. You'll be right at home. You love fish, so you can fish and cook and eat. So you're good. Well, thank you so much, David. I really, really appreciate that. Is there anything that I did not ask you that you wanted to make sure that you shared before we sign out?
no. Just again, thank you. Like I said, as a huge fan of what you do. Thank you for what you do and the difference you're making. Thank you for your love of Miami and your collaboration with us. And we just take this opportunity. Anybody on your in your audience that hasn't been to Miami and Miami Beach in a while, please come back. A lot going on.
Mhm.
And check out our website, miamiandmiamibeach.com, for all the reasons you should be here.
Mhm.
And we'll see everyone down the road. It's just been a real blessing to be with you. So thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. All right. And with that, I'm going to encourage you to lead yourself, lead your teams, and lead your organization with audacious confidence. Until next time, I'm Alicia Curry. Bye for now.